Hey my love, welcome to the SRT page. If you're new to SRT, Spiritual Response Therapy, in this video, I'm gonna talk about a little bit about the technique, about the tool, about who invented it, about what it believes in, and how it can work for you. So firstly, what is spiritual response therapy? Spiritual response therapy is a spiritual tool that helps clear energy blocks that are either keeping you stuck in situations you don't want to be in or are blocking you from attracting the things that your soul really wants in life. So, for example, love, better relationships, health, clarity, purpose, abundance, all the good stuff. To clear these blocks, we use a couple of things. Firstly, a pendulum, one like this one, and secondly, a series of 32 graphs, much like these. I'll explain what the graphs mean in a later video. With the use of the pendulum and the use of the graph, and of course, by channeling a higher force that we call spirit, we are able to clear those energy blocks that are keeping you in the situations you don't want to be in, and will bring more good energy and good vibrations to your life. So let's talk a little bit about the history of SRT, because I think it's important to know where it came from. Spiritual response therapy is actually an American tool, and it was created by a man named Robert Dexter. He worked as a Unity minister in California in the late 80s when he encountered a couple of hypnotherapists that were experimenting on a tool called response therapy. And the tool also had, a pendulum, it had only a couple of graphs, and he started, Robert Dexter, experimenting with this tool and started seeing the results in the people that he treated in his pastorship. And he was absolutely amazed by the life-changing results. So this wasn't like a normal minister. It wasn't an ordinary minister. He was a clergyman, of course, but he was also very spiritually inclusive and open. So he was a great believer in Vedic knowledge. His favorite book was the autobiography of Paramahansa Yogananda. And he was a very, very intuitive healer. And so, being an intuitive healer, he started developing the tool and he started understanding that energy blocks don't only exist in the body and in the subconscious mind, but they also exist in the soul records, or the Akashic records. This basically means that the energy blocks that are affecting us today don't only come from this lifetime, but also come from past lifetimes. And they normally do. Of course, this concept of past lifetimes and past lives is something that baffles us Westerners because we're not educated with that cosmo belief. But this is something that sages in the Vedic knowledge and yogis have known for ages. And they actually call these energy blocks karma. So karma means actions that create consequences. When you act out of high energy vibrations such as love, compassion, and service, you will create good consequences for yourself in the future and in future lifetimes. When you act out of low vibe intentions such as fear, scarcity, rage, that will create energy blocks. And those energy blocks will stay in your body, in your mind, and in your soul, not only in this lifetime, but in future lifetimes as well. This means that if we want to change our life for the better, we need to go into the Akashic records, into the soul records, and start clearing energy blocks that were created in past lives. We need to start clearing our karma. So let's talk a little bit about SRT, about the 3 pillars of belief of SRT, and how it can work for you. So let's talk about the 3 pillars of SRT. The first, and SRT is actually a very Vedic, it's very Vedic in its cosmovision. And by this, I mean that firstly, SRT believes in reincarnation. That our souls have not only come to this lifetime, but it has come to many, many other lifetimes. The Bhagavad Gita says that our soul will reincarnate on earth for an average of 1 million years before we ascend back to spirit. So we have not only come like once or twice, but we have come hundreds and thousands of times. That's the first pillar of the cosmovision of SRT. The second pillar is that all that has happened to us in our lifetimes is written in a book, an energetic book, as you will, called the Akashic Records. And the book is normally neutral, right? So we will find the descriptions of what has happened in our different lifetimes, and it's neutral in energy. However, when you open up the book, you might find little pieces of energetic knots that were created when a specific event happened. So psychologists call this trauma, right? When something happens to you 10 years ago and you haven't cleared the energy inside your body, you will feel the feelings and you will feel the emotions of what happened 10 years ago like it was happening today. So psychologists normally think that trauma or these energy blocks only come from like our childhood and our early life and basically from this lifetime. SRT believes that yes, energy blocks come from this lifetime, but they also come from the thousands and thousands of lifetimes that we've lived before and that the energy is stuck in our Akashic records. So we have a lot of accumulated energy blocks or karma that we can clear in order to live a better life. So the third pillar of belief of SRT is that we can clear these energy blocks in a very effective way. And there are plenty of tools that help you clear energy blocks from, karma and past life. For example, Kundalini Yoga is an excellent tool to do this. Kriya Yoga is an amazing tool to do this. But in my experience, nothing is as effective and is as fast as SRT. SRT can really clear energy blocks that are affecting you from past life, from this life. It is an amazing tool to clear energy blocks. So here comes the third pillar, is that we can clear energy blocks, but not you and me. The person or the being that clears the energy blocks is a higher force that we call spirit, and his helpers called the higher self. So what is the higher self? The higher self is like, say a boardroom of spiritual beings that accompany every single soul that reincarnates on this earth so that that soul can learn the things that it came to learn in life. In other cultures, they call it intuition, or that voice inside me that told me that I had to do this or that I didn't have to do this, right? In SRT, we call that voice the higher self. And this higher self and spirit are the ones that are able to go into the Akashic records and see if there's any programs, if there's any energy blocks or karma. All these things mean the same, they're just synonyms, so that we can clear problems that we're having in our life. And the clearing is very effective. It's as fast as taking an archive in our computer and deleting it into the trash. It's that effective and it's that fast. So how can SRT work for you? Before anything, I want to make an example of all the things that I talked before so that it's much clearer how energy blocks that come from past lifetimes affect this lifetime. So let's put the example of if you're having a really hard time with your mother and the relationship is hard, you're fighting all the time, and you don't understand what is triggering that energy. You don't understand what is triggering their fights. Because we as human beings, we can sort of look in a situation being like, I don't understand why there's so much rage or why I feel this way. It's clearly not coming from right now. It's coming from like another time. So whenever you feel like that, whenever you feel like the relationship that you're in and the energy, especially like the bad energy or the negative energy that you're feeling doesn't correspond to what is happening at the moment in that relationship, it probably has to do with karma. It probably comes from energy blocks in past lives. And so when you clear those energy blocks, the relationship changes, the dynamic changes, which is spectacular. So SRT works in basically any part of our life. It is especially effective with anything that has to do with relationships. So relationships with your family members, relationships with your husband or with your boyfriend, relationships with money and with abundance. That is a big one. And it helps clear a lot of karma and a lot of energy around when we feel like we're in scarcity, when we're living paycheck to paycheck, when we feel that the abundance that we want in our life is not coming. It's particularly effective. It is also very effective treating allergies, food intolerances, dermatitis, basically any bodily reaction that doesn't happen to everybody else, but it affects us in some way. So I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with SRT and how I was able to clear my food intolerances with SRT. So a couple of years ago, after I had encountered this tool, I was very allergic, and the word is not actually allergic, but I was very intolerant to certain types of food. So I couldn't eat gluten, I couldn't eat dairy, eggs, fish, shellfish. I couldn't have anything. Whenever I had fish, I would feel bad for days. It was horrible. And I remember going to restaurants, and if you've had an allergy, you've felt this way as well. Like going out to eat when you have food allergies is the worst because you can only eat what is in the menu. Like you look at the menu full of options and you can only choose those things that don't have the allergens that affect you. And you never know if the food actually has the allergen or not, so you're always scared when you go out. And I remember living like this for about 8 years. I eliminated those things out of my diet and I was feeling much better, but my diet was very limited. And then I encountered SRT, and in just a couple of sessions, I was able to clear all the food intolerances that I had. And I remember the first time going to a restaurant and eating octopus and feeling like I cried in happiness. I cried in happiness. It was so amazing. Because before, eating octopus would have sent me to my bed for 2 days. And then I was just like eating like if nothing had happened. So with the big subjects in life, like money, that's a big subject and it has a lot of karmic layers. Relationships with your family members, that is a big, that has a lot of karmic layers. But with specific things like phobias, allergies, food intolerances, SRT is particularly effective. It can help clear in very few sessions a specific allergy that you have. I know, it is that amazing. I am a living testimonial, and also I've been able to clear food allergies for other people, and I'll show you in the testimonials below. So, who is spiritual response therapy for? I would say it's for any person, for any human being that feels that the energy it's in her or his relationships, or the energy in his or her surroundings is off. When you feel something is off, when you feel like there's something blocking you or there's something keeping you stuck, SRT will help you clear that sensation. So the dynamic in your life and in your relationship changes, and changes for the better. It's happened in my life. I am sure that it will happen in your life. So if you're willing to try it, I invite you to a session to explore the energy blocks that you have in your life so that you can live a better life, because it is possible.